Don't forget to tell me the version if you're using your own Bible.
Then certain of the scribes and of the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonas. And behold, a greater than Jonas is here. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it. For she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit is gone out of man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto the wicked generation.
Okay, then if we can combine these two, both the 11:16 and then the 11:24 through 26 passages.
And others tempting him sought of him a sign from heaven.
When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest, and finding them, he said, I will return to my house whence I came out. And when he cometh, he findeth it swept and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh to him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first.
Okay, and then somebody, the 11:29 through 36.
And when the people were gathered fit together, he began to say, This is an evil generation. They seek a sign, and there shall no sign be given it, but the sign unto the Ninevites. So shall also the Son of Man be to this generation. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of the generation, and condemn them. For she came from the utmost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here. The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with the generation, and shall condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonas. And behold, a greater than Jonas is here. No man, when he hath lighted a candle, putteth it in a secret place, neither under a bushel, but on a candlestick, that they which come in may see the light of the body of the eye. Therefore, when thine eye is single, the whole body also is full of light. But when thine eye is evil, the body also is full of darkness. Take heed, therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness. If thy whole body, therefore, be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle doth give thee light. Body, therefore, full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle doth give thee light.
Okay. Okay, something's missing there, but I can't quite figure out what it is, and I'm not going to try to do that now. Okay, and then
What's missing? What?
okay, in point 51, the true family of Christ identified. If someone would read Matthew 12:46 through 50.
But he had talked to people on his own. His mother and his brother stood without, and desired to speak with him. Then one said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, Who is my mother, and who are my brothers? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
Okay, and somebody read the parallel passage, Mark 3:31 through 35.
There came then his brethren and his mother, and standing without, sent unto him, calling him. And the multitude sat about him. And they said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren without seek for thee. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother, or my brethren? And he looked around about on them which sat about him, and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of God, the same is my brother, and my sister, and mother.
Now the Luke 8:19 through 21 passage.
Then came to him his mother and his brethren, and could not come out him from the press. And it was told him by certain which said, Thy mother and thy brethren stand without, discerning to see thee. And he answered and said unto them, My mother and my brethren are these which hear the word of God and do it.
Okay, now somebody else, the Luke 11:27 and 28.
And it came to pass, as he spake these things, a certain woman of the company lifted up her voice and said unto him, Blessed is the womb that bare thee, and the paps which thou hast sucked. But he said, Yeah, rather blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it.
All right, guys, lighten up. Be advised, when you're reading, at least in the King James, I can't swear to it in all the other Bibles, when you see brackets around the word, it means that word isn't actually in the original Koine Greek text. That's all that means, but the translators back, whoever that was in King James' day, decided to add that for clarity. And sometimes when I read that, I'm like, you didn't really need that for clarity, but I wasn't around then, no matter how old you think I am.
I thought you were like 38.
Yeah, soon to be twice over almost, but no. All right, the parable of the sower, Matthew 13:1 through 9.
That same day Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and the great crowds gathered about him, so that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the bird came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth in soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil, and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear.
Okay. And a reminder, unless you're reading from the screen, please let me know what version you're reading from.
English Standard.
Yeah, I remember that, but everybody else needs to be able to hear that too. So, Mark 4, verses 1 through 9, the parallel passage.
And he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea. And the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine, Hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow, and it came to pass, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on the stony ground, where it had not much earth. And immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And other fell on the ground and did yield fruit.
Good ground.
Well,
Yeah, we need that word in there. Verse 8.
And other fell on good ground and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased, and brought forth some 30, and some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Okay, and another parallel passage out of Luke, chapter 8, verses 4 through 8.
And when much people were gathered together and were come to him out of every city, he spake by a parable. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away, because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. And other fell on good ground, and sprang up, and bare fruit, and hundredfold. And when he had said these things, he cried, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Okay, now we're going to be talking about the purpose of parables, and I think probably you've had enough, some of you may have already had enough teaching to understand that parables were stories, and there were stories that were meant to convey a thought of some sort, and that's an oversimplification. It's quite a bit more than that, but we'll let Jesus explain it. Matthew 13, and just 36a, but then whoever reads that, if you could double back to Matthew 10 through 17, if we could do that.
And he spake many things unto them in parables. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with eyes, and hear with ears, and should understand with heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous have desired to see which ye see, and have not seen, and to hear which ye hear, and have not heard.
Okay, are you skipping all the bracketed ones?
Yeah.
Why?
Did you tell me to skip the brackets?
I didn't tell you to skip the brackets. I told you what the brackets represented. Yes, sir.
And you said we
Your
have
editing
everything.
that's incorrect. It's Matthew 13:3, not 13:36.
Oh, thank you. Hold on just a minute. Let me make that correction.
I thought you told me to skip the brackets.
No.
That it wasn't in the Bible. That's why.
No. Sorry you got that. We can replay the tape if anybody needs to, I think, probably. If I'm in error, then you can go ahead and pillory me the next time I come in here.
I guess that was my interpretation. I'm sorry.
Another word for the day.
Another word for the day, pillory. Anybody know the word pillory?
No.
Okay, tell me about it the next time I come back. Somebody is charged. Someone in this classroom is charged with talking to me about pillory when I come back. All right?
Sorry?
Not now. When I come back. Remember, I'm a grammarian. When I come back. It doesn't mean today. All right. Chastise and rebuke. Okay, Matthew 13, 10 through 17. Thank you, Ken, for the correction on the paragraph, the verse number.
Heavy for the parable of the sower.
What version?
One here,
13, 18, 23.
and understandeth it.
Okay.
Then cometh the wicked one rule, and catches away that which was sown in the heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that receiveth the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but endureth for a while, or when tribulation or persecution arises, because of the word. And by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word. And the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some and 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
Okay, before we go on, to kind of highlight this for just a moment, if I may, I think probably many of you in the course of your Christian lives have known other people who have, I use the word ostensibly, who claim to have either been that they were Christians or that they had become a Christian, but then you listen to them talk and you hear them speak and it's like, okay, that doesn't sound very Christianese, if you will, you know. Sorry, kid, I had to invent at least one word. Give me a break, you know. That's kind of what this is talking about, because there are some people that say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Christian." If we seek the understanding of what you can do or say that makes you a Christian versus what does not make you a Christian, there's an organization called Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints. Well, it's got the word Jesus Christ in the title. However, are they Christians? So you have to ponder those things. But the point of these kinds of verses, especially these in the parallel passages, is because you'll get people that they'll go to church, and after 3 or 4 sessions of church, they say, "Oh, that's such a message, great message. I love listening to the pastor." Then you never see them again. Then you find them in many situations, which, you know, definitely not Christian behavior and that sort of stuff. Now, it's not our job to condemn them, certainly under those circumstances, but it does make you wonder, well, these are the kind of people that are being spoken about in these cases. Okay, can of worms? No, go ahead.
So then, if it's in a situation like that, are you not supposed to say you're Christian then? Are you supposed to just say, "Oh, well, I just believe in God"? Because there's been plenty of times where, say, for example, I'm at a bar getting drunk with all these people, and then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I'm Christian. I'm a Christian. How could you be Mormon?" Or we're right there getting trashed together, but I'm like, "Oh, I'm Christian, though." Is that wrong? Should I not say I'm a Christian? Should I just say, "Oh, I believe in Jesus Christ"? And that's it?
Why don't you answer me? What's right? What should you do? Why? If you're drunk, you're both sitting there drunk. Are you showing an example of being a good Christian by being drunk?
No.
Is there anything in the Bible says you can't get drunk?
Don't be a drunkard.
In some places, yeah.
So what do you say in those instances? Just, oh, I believe in God. That's it.
Okay, let me give you a little explanation. I'm going to give you 4 words: jollicose, bellicose, lacrimose, and comatose. Do you recognize those words?
Not at all.
Now let me say it slower. Don't watch it. I'm the teacher. You get enough time to teach when I let. Okay, you're up here too. Jollicose, bellicose, lacrimose, and comatose.
Comatose is the only one I know.
Okay, jollicose means happy.
Jollicose?
These are stages of drunkenness, and that's probably exactly what he said. These are stages of drunkenness. Jollicose, bellicose. We get the word belligerent from that word. Belligerent. Antagonistic, ready to fight, correctly? He asked me how I spell, so I told him correctly. B-E-double-L I-G-E-R-E-N-T.
Whoa. I was thinking antebellum. Everyone knows that one.
Who?
Antebellum.
I never knew that. It took me years to figure out what antebellum meant.
Well,
I thought it was old, young women that wore old style dresses in Georgia. But anyway, bellicose, lacrimose. What does lacrimose mean?
Lacking of...
No, it means sad, means unhappy. Crying in my beer. Oh, yeah, lacrimose. And comatose. We know comatose, don't we? So, those are the 4 stages of drunkenness.
What's comatose?
Passed out.
You're
Yeah.
in a coma. You're just gone, blacked out.
You're just gone, yeah. And, you know,
Bigger than that.
and that is an area that I do have some experience, okay? I was pretty much finished with my drinking when I was legally old enough to drink. But, but I've been through all those things. So my point to you is, if you have a qualification within you as you are also inebriated that says, I can address the issue of relative Christianity between you and me, and you're sure of which stage they're in, you might be able to speak with them about that. But if they happen to be in belligerent, in bellicose, then you're going to discover something. You've offended somebody's delicate sensibilities. And if a person is drunk and you've offended their delicate sensibilities, probably they're going to, if and they're in bellicose stage, they're probably going to go into combat mode.
Yeah, and it's happened.
Yeah, I know. My whole purpose in getting drunk was to be as obnoxious as I could and make somebody want to start a fight.
Yeah.
Now, my intelligence was that I never learned how to fight. Not the smartest drinker in the world. And so it was kind of, you know, it was a life-saving act for me to quit drinking because I was going to get killed in a drunken barroom brawl. I believed that. I mean, obviously I'm standing here now, so that wasn't God's plan for my life. But certainly, if you're not a sterling, shining example of Christianity, do you think you'd be able to communicate with a person who's inebriated the relative merits of their statement of their being Christian? Do you think that's a viable thing to do? Do you think that's something that you ought to do? Okay. It's called being discerning, not judgmental, but discerning. We have something back here in the corner.
What did you call a person that drank?
Pardon me?
Steelers in their drink?
Huh?
What did you call a person?
Inebriated?
One that dropped Steelers in his liquor?
Huh?
I know a lot of trying drunks, but I didn't know they tried in their beers.
I'm not understanding what you're asking about.
Your third term, lacrimose.
Oh, lacrimose, yeah. Lachromose. Lachromose. Lacrimose.
No, I was just saying that.
Yeah, that, I forget what the group, I don't even know what the root word for that is.
The stories that they cry.
Huh?
You know what they call crying drunk?
Yes, yeah.
But I've
Yeah.
never seen one actually cry tears into the liquor.
But yeah, that's just a saying, crying in my beer. Yeah, I usually said that when I was sober, I'm crying in my beer. But I never even liked beer, never drank beer really that much.
So then the correct if you're in that state, the correct thing would just obviously just tell them, I have my own personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Well, what does that do? What does that do for you uttering that statement to somebody?
No, because there's been plenty of times where we're drinking or whatever it is, and I want to fight someone because they don't believe in God or they're bashing on God. And I'm like, well, I'm Christian. How could you not believe in God? And of course, we're both drunk. So the correct thing would just to stop all that and to not fight or not do anything or not feel convicted that, oh, I didn't defend God, would just obviously say, I just have my own personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Do you think you need to defend God?
Yeah.
Why?
Hey, I'm telling him, guys.
No, seriously though.
I want to hear your guys' what you guys have to say.
Right now, it's right now, what we're doing.
So I would. I feel like I do have to defend him because he is my Lord and Savior, and if he died on the cross for my sins, I have to defend him in some way, even though I'm being obnoxious or inebriated or doing something that I'm not supposed to. I feel that it's my job to say, yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, and he is real. And he died on the cross for our sins.
And what would you receive for that?
What would I receive for that?
Yes.
Hopefully some tiny little crown when I die or something. I don't know.
No, not at all. Go ahead, Ken.
I think that the principle is to honor him with your life, not with your words.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A lot of times in the Bible we hear they praise me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. My opinion, whether it's fact or not, my faith comes across as an opinion to someone else. And so really what I'm standing up for is, like you said, you want to fight. That's not defending him, that's actually just propagating a spirit of the bellicose spirit. But I mean, I know enough about you personally to know that you have that issue. We all know. I'm not bringing anything to light.
No, yeah.
So it seems to me it's more you're wanting to pick a fight, and that's something you can pick it on.
You know, most of you, and I know there's one or two in here that haven't heard this, but I will tell you, Ken mentioned the word faith. And if it wasn't for the faith of Rosa Huerta in my life,
What's that word?
Rosa, it's a girl that worked with me, a woman that worked with me.
Oh, the one that you called up.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rosa Huerta is her name, and I'll broadcast her name to the world in hopes to be able to hear from her again. But she was such a staunch, stand-in-the-gap Christian that she was, and I mean this in a very flattering tone, she was incapable of being offended by a heathen non-Christian man. She wasn't able to be offended by me, and I believe that. I believe that I really, truly did not offend that woman. I believe that I tried very much to offend her because I didn't like Christians, and she was representative of them. But her faith rode through all of that, to the extent that months later, and I don't think it was yours, but months later when we were going different places, she was that person that I called. So Ken talks about faith. I didn't need anybody to beat me up in a drunken barroom brawl to tell me that I need to believe in Christ. It wasn't going to happen that way. I've had a number of people that have attempted to, collar me and, shake me by the shirt and tell me, how I got to stop being a dirty, filthy, rotten heathen. Part may be accurate, but in actuality, it didn't have anything to do with my conversion experience. And you may, in fact, turn somebody further away through your stance, depending on the recall, if you will, of the conversation by the two inebriated people the next day. You may have, in fact, delayed that person's Christianity by months or years, like that nun did for me in second grade. You know, I preferred to follow the occult. I preferred to learn the ways of the world. I preferred to do all the other things that I did, studying mythology and all the rest of that. So, in your stance, in your attitude, if you will, and don't even think for a second that a person who's inebriated has good control over their sensibilities, because they don't. I mean, there's just no ands, ifs, or buts about that, and I'm not going to get into that. You know, you guys got counselors, you know who they are, and all the different things that go on about that. But to defend Christ with open warfare in a situation where you're basically having a battle of intelligence and you're completely unarmed, they're not going to respond to that. So my personal answer to you is no, absolutely not. You ought not to do that. However, I also know that on the many times that I was drunk, I did not have anywhere near full control of my sensibilities. Otherwise, I would be picking fights as a non-fighting person. That's twisted. Something wrong with a mind that will do that. And yet, in your kind of situation, you would be professing to prove the might of Jesus to a non-believer, and you're not the sterling example at that moment in your life. So that's an object lesson, I think, more than anything, if you choose to take it that way.
Okay. Thank you.
But have a lucid conversation, because when Rosa said to me, she says, "Don, I don't do that for you. I do that for me." I've never forgotten that phrase. You know, the little letters she wrote letters of apology to people when she was involved in a conversation where she felt she'd done something wrong. I maligned her for that. I mean, I was just on her case all the time, you know. It wasn't that. It was her, you know, it was just simply her absolute faith in Jesus Christ that carried her to have to do those things. She felt serious remorse over her sins of laughing at somebody else's situation. It wasn't anything more heinous than that. Thank you. I do actually like the opportunity to speak about Rosa Huerta every chance I get. Ken.
Well, I mean, everyone hates a hypocrite. And when your words are saying what you're not doing, then you're advertising it to the spirit of the enemy. I call it the old man.
Yes.
And my old man is battling someone else's old man. It's not a pretty sight for one who's supposed to walk the new man.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the interlude. I appreciate that. Good conversation. Okay. How far did we read? Where were we? Is that coming next?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, somebody now. This is still part of the explanation of the sower. If somebody will read that.
Yeah, I got it. New American Standard Bible.
Okay.
It says, "And he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word. These are the ones who are beside the road, where the road is sown. And when they hear, immediately Satan comes and takes away the word which has been sown in them. In a similar way, these are the ones on whom seed was sown on the rocky places, who, when they hear the word, immediately received it with joy, and they have no firm root in themselves, but are only temporary. Then, when affliction or persecution arises because of the word, immediately they fall away. And others are the ones of whom, the seed was sown among the thorns. These are the ones who have heard the word, but the worries of the world and the deceitfulness of riches and the desire for other things enter in and choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful.
All right, then the parallel passage in Luke 8:11 through 15.
Now the parable is this. The seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside are they that hear. They cometh the devil, and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. They on the rock are they, which when they hear receive the word with joy, and these have no root, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation fall away. And that which fell among thorns are they, which when they have heard go forth, and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to the perfection. But that on the good ground are they, which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it and bring forth fruit with patience.
Okay, and then number 55 is a warning issued out of Mark 4 through 21 through 25.
New American Standard Bible.
Okay.
He was saying to them, a lamp is not brought to be put under a basket, is it? Or under a bed? Is it not brought to be put on a lampstand? For nothing is hidden except to be revealed, nor has anything been secret, but that it would come to light. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. And he was saying to them, take care of what you have listened to. By your standard of measure, it will be measured to you, and more will be given you besides. For whoever has, to him more shall be given, and whoever does not have, even that what he has shall be taken away from him.
Okay. Okay. An explanation of harvest comes next out of Mark 4:26 through 29.
What was that last one we just read?
Say again, please.
What was the last one we just read?
It was a warning issued.
Warning issued 21 to 25.
Yeah, Mark 4:21 through 25.
And he said, so is the kingdom of God. As the man should cast seed into the ground, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the shield should spring and grow up. He knoweth thy house, for the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the blue corn, then the ear. But when the fruit is brought forth, immediately he put it in the sickle, because the harvest is come.
And then the parable of the tares, Matthew 13:24 through 30.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in the bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
Okay, two things. That word lest, L-E-S-T, it's not least, it's lest. It means it shall become, or worse to that effect. It doesn't mean smaller than. So we need to start saying less rather than least. And about the tares. Tares, if I remember correctly, the name for them out of the Koine Greek translates into something called darnel. Pretty sure it's called darnel, and it's an item that looks a whole lot like wheat, except that I believe it's black, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, but I do remember Dr. Welch teaching quite a bit on that. If they just went to the harvest, or if they just went and started pulling them out, they might be pulling out more wheat itself than the darnel itself. And so the provision was made for them to just do that by this particular parable, to do it afterwards at harvest time, and then they could separate it more easily into which is wheat and which is not. But darnel is nasty stuff, whatever it is. And I'm pretty sure that's the word. If anybody want to do a research on that and have some fun, that's what that's all about.
What is it?
Tares, T-A-R, well, tear, T-A-R-E, or tares.
What did you say that name was? Darnell?
I think it's darnel. I'm pretty sure it's darnel. N-E-double-L-E. Yeah. Yeah. All right, but let's move on in the meanwhile. Messages from mustard seeds and leaven. It's not leaven, it's leaven. So there's two passages, one in Matthew and one in Mark, and somebody will go ahead and take the Matthew 13, 31 through 35 passage.
Put ye forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches. Therefore, another
parable.
Be unto them, and the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaves
leaven,
which the woman took and hid in their
in 3 measures
of
meal.
Okay, till the whole was leavened. And all these things I spoke to Jesus unto the multitude.
Yes.
The problems of
parables.
And without the problems.
Without a parable, this word is parable.
Parables, and spoke he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, and I will unite things,
utter
things which I have been kept secret for the foundations of the world.
Okay. Now somebody else for the parallel passage, Mark 4 through 30 through 34.
Right. In NASB, and he said, how shall we picture the kingdom of God, or by what parable shall we present it? It is like a mustard seed, which when sown upon the soil, though it is smaller than all the seeds that are upon the soil, yet when it is sown, it grows up and becomes larger than all the garden plants, forms large branches, so that the birds of the air can nest under its shade. With many such parables he was speaking the word to them, so far as they were able to hear it. And he did not speak to them without a parable, but he was explaining everything privately to his own disciples.
Okay, now an explanation of the tares, not the same one that I gave, but a different one. Matthew 13, 36b, the second part of verse 36 through 43.
And his disciples came
unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is a world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them unto a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Amen.
Okay, and the last one that we're going to do for today is Hidden Treasure and a Costly Pearl. Matthew 13:44 through 46.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hid it, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls.
Okay. All right. As I said, that's the last one we'll be doing today. We'll pick up on number 61 when next we get together, which I presume will be next Monday, unless a variety of things occur, like the rapture. Hello? Anybody want the rapture to come?
Yes, not yet. Not yet.
Especially before I speak. Please, Lord, bring the rapture now. Yeah. No. All right, we're done. Would someone close us in prayer, please?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, Lord. I thank you for another day of life, another day of breath, Lord. Lord, I thank you for giving another year of life to my brother Daniel. Thank you for bringing him into this program and bringing light to us when we need some laughter, Lord. And Lord, I thank you just for giving us the pastors and the teachers that you bring to us to let us open our minds and let us be able to learn more about you and ask questions and just continue to learn more about you, Lord. And just please help us all, Lord, understand that we need to know more about you every second of the day, Lord. And we thank you for everything you've given us, Lord. In your name, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.